Welcome to Action Hour. I'm your host, Lindsey Baker. Today we have an exciting guest, Dr. Harsha, who is a documentary filmmaker who has just won 4 awards. His first documentary, Maa Ka Doodh. And we're going to learn all about the film, but let's watch this clip first.
जो डेयरी इंडस्ट्री है, गाय भैंस रखी जाती हैं दूध के लिए, ये हर क्रूरता की जड़ है।
जितने भी व्यर्थ के मुद्दे होते हैं वो लोगों के दिमाग में घुसे हुए हैं।
It's so exciting because his movie is going to be released on January 26th on YouTube. And before it's even been released, it has won 4 awards in the Jaipur International Film Festival. And I'm very emotional actually after watching the trailer. How did you come up from being a medical doctor? How did you decide to suddenly give that up, become an activist? You made a transition, became a vegan. How did that all happen and come to this where you have an award-winning documentary?
My journey began, though I was working as a medical professional, I was into animal rights since childhood. We used to feed cats and dogs, and as I grew up, I understand how animals are treated in the poultry industry. So there is a intimate emotional connection with the animals. So while I was in the medical profession, working as a medical writer, I came to know about the cruelty in dairy industry, and I decided to go vegan during that time. I was looking for ways to get involved more and help animals. And on one random day, an activist on Facebook has reached out to me and said, we are doing an outreach here in Mumbai, which is very close to my home. So I decided to go and join. Why not? It's a Sunday, so there's a lot of free time. Why not utilize my time for animals? And I went there, and the rest is history. So ever since then, I started participating in outreaches, and eventually, I used to speak with tens and probably hundreds of people, and it was kind of repetitive. One day I thought, like, why not make a video so that I don't have to repeat and I can focus on other things. So at that point of time, I don't know how to even hold a camera with my hands, but still I managed to make one video and it became viral. So that kind of motivated me to learn more and learn more about filmmaking. And I started making a lot of YouTube videos at that point of time. And eventually one thing led to another. I left my job to become full-time animal rights activist. And after a year and a half after I leaving my job, I decided I should focus on one major project instead of making short videos or spending time on social media. So that's when this project came to my mind.
Let's go back a little bit and talk about when you were growing up. Now, from my background, from my knowledge about India, and I think it's a common perception currently, even with some Americans, that cow is sacred. And so when you find out that India has become the world leader producing dairy and meat, it's quite extraordinary and eye-opening.
So I was raised as a non-vegetarian, but we do not eat beef at our home. Because even today, beef eating is a taboo in many parts of India. So, but besides beef, we have eaten we used to eat chicken, goats, sheep, fish, so all kind of animal products. So beef and pork, and pigs, you can say, are kind of a taboo in many parts of India. So I was raised as a non-vegetarian,
but
so it's religious and cultural.
That's what I was trying to get. Thank you. Religious and cultural reasons that people don't do it. I did want to ask you about Operation Flood. This is kind of, I think, a very important point. The fact that the idea of the sacred cow and then what it's evolved to.
So Operation Flood was developed in the 1960s by Verghese Kurian, who is considered as the father of white revolution in India. And it was a campaign to increase the dairy production in India. I mean, the word itself says we should flood the nation with dairy. So that's how it came Operation Flood.
Because they think it was a healthy thing? Was it something that was supposed to be good for the public?
Because as soon as the British left India, India was in a very financially critical state. So people who were, very poor, there is no money, and people are starving, and dairy would be a major source for the income for farmers. Simultaneously, of course, nutrition is there in the background, but more than nutrition, dairy is focused as a source of economic empowerment for the rural people, and also as a source of empowering women, rural women. So, sorry.
That's very interesting that it was to empower women. So it was for a positive reason. That's really very interesting. And I like that we're filling this out a little bit for everyone. So what happened? What has it become?
So what happened was, to increase the dairy production, we need more animals, especially the female cows and female buffaloes.
उसकी मम्मी वहाँ पे है, फ्रूटी नाम रखा हुआ है मैंने उसका बच्चा ये है, ये 6 महीने का बच्चा है, इसको माँ का दूध मिला है शुरू से, तो उसकी हेल्थ देखिए आप। और यहाँ पे सुबह शाम खाना मिलता है, और माँ का दूध बहुत जरूरी होता है।
For Operation Flood to function in India, they understood at the earlier stage that slaughterhouses need to be open, and that's how India had its first beef slaughterhouse.
Wow.
So as time went on, the number of slaughterhouses has increased, and people were more accustomed to consumption of beef. And as the dairy production increased, so is the slaughter of unproductive and dry animals. So that's how India became one of the largest producers and exporters of beef in the world.
Well, thank you for explaining that. Now, can you tell me how that impacted on you personally to take you on this journey?
I know for a fact that when I turn vegan, I understand that, okay, there is cruelty involved, but I don't know the magnitude of the cruelty. I just know that, cows and buffaloes are ill-treated. I wasn't even never much about the slaughter of animals. So my reason for going vegan is that animals must not be abused, let alone slaughter, is something I wasn't even aware at that point of time. But as I became activist, I started learning more and researching for myself. The more bigger picture it appeared that dairy and animal slaughter for beef is like two sides of the same coin. It was quite how to say it's this. As a science student, it's logical. At the same time, it's not surprising, but it's very much disappointing to know that.
I think it'd be a great time to play a clip.
The milk industry benefits the milk farmer. What he forgets is that the soy milk based industry benefits the soy farmer. He has not made that point in his tweet.
How did you make a decision where to show enough to allow people to wake up and then not to overdo it?
For me, more than traumatizing, I want people to focus on awareness so that they can choose, they can make informed decisions. So we have minimized violence as much as possible when we have showed what really happens in the dairy and beef industry, only when we felt it is absolutely necessary. And the second thing is different people have different level of sensitivity. Some people can't even tolerate a cow getting beaten with a stick, whereas some people can't tolerate a cow getting slaughtered. So there is even a sensitivity parameter to consider as well. That a cow herd often beats the animal to lead them in a specific direction. So these things are pretty common, and people are very used to it, observing these things. So for me, it didn't felt very much violent.
Mhm.
Uh, Perhaps someone in the US might find it violent because it is something new for them.
Yes, yes. I think I was going to say, compared to some other films that I think are very striking in the graphic nature, this is
Yeah.
very mild.
If Dominion is
But
100, I mean, Maa Ka Doodh is like maybe 2.5 or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the title of the movie and how you came up with the name.
This title came up while we are filming and traveling in India. Me and my friend Shrikant, who helped me shoot, and he's also an associate producer of this film. And so I was thinking of a lot of different names, Holy Cow from to Mother Milk or anything. But one day but nothing felt emotionally strong enough for me that that can justify the film. So one day while we were driving, my friend suggested, how about Maa Ka Doodh, which means mother's milk. In India, I mean, Maa Ka Doodh also signifies a kind of, how to say, a masculinity thing, because I mean, if someone wants to shame someone, you can say that, didn't you have your mother's milk? Like, haven't you grown up drinking mother's milk? I mean, don't you have manners,
Mhm.
So this is the kind of emotion it has attached, you know.
Yes.
So then I felt like beyond this, it is also a voice for the motherhood of animals, for animals, how we treat mothers, and how we torture them so that we can have a cup of tea or coffee or cereals with milk.
But go ahead and tell us a little bit about that process of how you just attracted your tribe to you to help you with this project.
So initially, back in 2018, I decided to take a 2-year break and focus full time on animal rights, and start making videos, short videos for YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth. But even a year and a half has passed. Though I had done some work, it was not satisfactory for me. So I felt that I should do one major project before I get back to my job. So that's when I decided to think about a film, proper feature length film. And the next thing that came to my mind is, which topic should I choose? So after speaking with hundreds of people, my experience here in speaking with people in India during outreaches is that people can see and accept that there is cruelty in poultry and goat and egg industry, these kind of industries, because the violence is very much open. The slaughterhouses are open, and people can see the animals getting slaughtered.
Oh my
But
goodness.
whereas for cows and the cruelty in dairy, um, people are not aware of it. I mean, many people have said that these things doesn't happen in my village, or what about Krishna, or the gods that we offer dairy products? What about them? And so there are so many kind of excuses people gave, and at one point of time, I even thought that their points are valid enough, and I thought, like, why don't I do an investigative documentary, mainly from the neutral point of view? Though I'm a vegan, it could be a confirmatory bias as well, but from a neutral point of view, I wanted to investigate whether their claims are true, or my understanding of the dairy industry is true.
उसकी मम्मी वहाँ पे है, फ्रूटी नाम रखा हुआ है मैंने उसकी, उसका बच्चा ये है, ये 6 महीने का बच्चा है, इसको माँ का दूध मिला है शुरू से, तो उसकी हेल्थ देखिए आप। और यहाँ पे सुबह शाम खाना मिलता है, और माँ का दूध बहुत ज़रूरी होता है।
So I want to see who is right, and that's how I decided to work on investigating into dairy industry in India. That's how this journey began for Maa Ka Doodh.
That's wonderful.
When I was making this film, I thought like I should meet people from various backgrounds, because everyone has their own experiences to share. So, for example, Menka Gandhi, a wonderful and inspirational animal rights activist and a politician, to Acharya Prashant, who is a spiritual leader, and Dr. Arpit Jain, who is a doctor turned IPS officer in the Indian Police Service officer, to even doctors like Dr. Neil Barnard, Dr. Nandita Shah, and environmentalists like Dr. Sailesh Rao and activists like Abhinav Srihan. So all these are incredible people who are doing exceptional work in their respective fields. So I
Yes.
wanted to meet each and every one of them and take their point of views, their understandings, their experiences, their journeys, so that I can form a better picture, because each one shares one angle of their journey, but when it combined, it becomes a full circle, and everyone can see a like a global picture.
I see there another gentleman that I know and have interviewed, Kuntal Joyzer, who actually is the first person to climb Mount Everest completely vegan. So you have an amazing number of different people here from all walks of life, and they have such incredible backgrounds, and all age groups I see here, which I love. And you have one more picture. I want to honor everyone that has participated.
So they are not saying it is not adulterated. At the same time, they don't want to scare the public also.
बीफ इंडस्ट्री जो है वो बिना डेयरी के पॉसिबल नहीं है.
It's amazing how clever they are. They're very, very intelligent.
The whole life they have been profited from, and in the end they go to a horrible death.
Wow, that's another compelling clip. What is the main takeaway message that you hope people take when they watch the film? Takeaway.
I mean, the takeaway message is that people need to open their eyes and see the reality and how milk is coming to their home, and how the animals are treated, and how it impacts their health, how it impacts the environment and and future generations. And the main takeaway is we want people to take informed decisions. We want to show people that this is the thing that is happening. This is what you are not aware. Now that you are aware, so these are the choices that you have. If you think this is the right thing to do, you go in this direction. If not, do your own research, investigate more, and take your own informed decisions.
One thing we did not cover is, because I asked you this off camera, you think the dairy industry is willing to change, and you said, well, you have to define dairy industry. So maybe you can define it and then talk about whether you think they're open to change.
So the dairy industry in India operates in two ways. One is called the organized sector, where the huge companies like Amul and Nandini that run in a very organized fashion. Like it involves packaging, processing, and distribution and all. Where this accounts for 20% of the dairy industry, whereas the remaining is called unorganized sector, where people have their own farms in their backyard with only like 2 to 5 cows mostly, or buffaloes, and they take milk from them and they sell in their local neighborhoods. So in my experience, so when we say dairy industry, it's a complex thing in India, and the farmers whom I have spoken to, who are having like 2 to 5 animals or so, they are very much open to exploring new ways of earning income from non-animal agriculture. If I have to simplify it, I can divide into two ways. One is cows and the other is buffaloes. And the farmers who have cows generally don't prefer to sell the animals once the cows becomes dry. But there are those who do those things as well. And coming to buffaloes, it's the same situation everywhere, every corner in India, that once the animal goes dry, they are sold for slaughter, and unfortunately, they have no emotional connection with the animals. It's a very painful reality in India. And the society changes as per the demands of the consumers. That's one thing I understand from my many years of activism. So this film is mainly focused from a consumer end. However, at the same time, we also wanted to show to the dairy farmers, to dairy organizations, that this is also a best time for them to exploring plant-based alternatives so that they can remain and survive for a long term. Instead of fighting, they should join the cause, is what I feel.
Right. Can't beat them, join them. Now we have one more clip I'd like to play.
The bribing happens from one end to the other end. Every checkpost, it is there.
And it is coming soon. It's coming on January 26th on YouTube. And the link is right at the top of this post. So just click that link and it will take you to the page. It has to be January 26th. What was she referring to at the end of that about the checkpoints? Can you explain that a little more?
In India, there are national highways where that connects between many major cities. And on the path of these highways, there are many checkposts. The bribery happens at every checkpost implies that when animals are transported from one region to another region, people, the smugglers or the transporters, they pay bribes to the people who are in charge of these checkposts, and so that they can get passed through. So
Yes.
this is what the activist is referring to, that every checkpost there is bribery.
I see. Great. I'm glad we cleared that up. I want to ask you if there's any any message you'd like our audience to give to our audience.
We want people to watch the film, and if they believe in the film that it is genuine, we want them to share and spread its message. This is the most important message that I want to give to the viewers now.
Wonderful. Well, that's easy to do. Now, we didn't answer this yet. Do people have to pay to see the movie?
No, we are releasing the film for absolutely free of cost on YouTube. Like anyone can go and watch it. So because we want the message to reach to as many people as possible, and financial things are secondary. And so animal rights is the priority for us.
When I watched the film, I noticed this quote: "From the day I started the project until today, it was an awakening in me." Can you just tell me what you were feeling when you said that?
Mostly it's a wake-up call, to be frank, because the more I traveled, the more I met people, the more I interviewed, the more painful the facts become, and it's like an awakening call for me, because it gave me the sense of urgency. Right now, at each passing second, somewhere in India, a cow or a bull or a buffalo is getting slaughtered for beef or leather, and it's a very emergency situation. People are not aware of the gravity of this issue. From this sense of urgency, it gave me that awakening call.
It really touched your heart and charged you into action. And the good news is that there are people, thankfully, like yourself, doing things to make a change. And we're powerful. We're all very powerful. And change is happening. And I think that is just incredible. It was a pleasure having you on, Dr. Harsha.
Thank you very much.
So grateful that, thank you. We're grateful that you made this film.
I do believe that such kind of work does impact your psychological well-being, definitely in the long run. It's blood, it's gore, it's torture.